Hello guys, welcome back to IT Classroom. Today we'll be solving IGCSE Mathematics Paper 1, IGCSE Mathematics 0580, Paper 1, Variant 2 from Feb-March 2025. This is a non-calculator paper and this is a core paper. It is of 1 hour 30 minutes and the total number of marks in this paper is 18. And this is the first paper 1 of the new syllabus. So if you're appearing for paper 1 in the May June 25 series, this paper is very important for you. First of all, you cannot use any calculators in this paper, so before we start the video, I would advise you to keep your calculators away. I'll be showing you how to do all the questions without the calculator. And before we start, if you're new to this channel, do not forget to like, share and subscribe for more helpful content, especially for the upcoming May June 2025 series. Alright, let's get started with this paper. Now in this paper, there's a list of formulas that has been provided to you, which you can use throughout the paper. These are for areas and volumes. So please do make appropriate use of these formulas and go through them so that you know that which formula will be used, where and how exactly does it work. All right. Now the first question is write the number 20,000 in figures. This is a pretty easy question. So 20 and 1,000 is 3 zeros, so 20,000. That would give you 1 mark. It's a very easy question. Okay, after that, write 0.07 as a percentage. Now basically, we know that the 0.07 can be written as 0.07 over 1 because dividing by 1, it is the same thing as writing 0.07. Now if you make the denominator 100, we know that the numerator will also be multiplied, 0.07 will be multiplied with 100, which means moving the decimal places 2 places to the left. So that is 7 over 100, which is 7%. Okay. Otherwise, you'd simply know that whenever you have a number such as 0.07, it has like 2 values after the decimal point. It is always 7%. For example, if you have the number 0.43, it would be 43%. Then it says write it as a fraction. So I already told you in the previous example that we can write 0.07 as 7 over 100. So the fraction will also be 7 over 100. We cannot simplify it because 7 is a prime number. And after that, in standard form basically means somewhat in this way, so which is 1 decimal place, 2 significant figures into 10 raised to negative 2. This is how you supposed to write in the standard form. 7.0 into 10 raised to negative 2. This into 10 raised to negative 2 part means that if you want to write this back to the normal form, you have to move the decimal places 2 places to the left, which will be, if you have 7.0, 1 and 2, so decimal point will be here, so it will be 0.07, which is the number that we had already. Okay, so I hope these first 2 questions are clear. They were pretty easy. Now we'll move on to the third question. Write down all the factors of 18. So the factors of 18, for example, we can write 1 into 18, so 1 and 18 are factors, 2 into 9 and 3 into 6. I advise you to write the factors like this: 1 into 18, then you go to 2 into 9 and 3 into 6, and that's it. These would be the only 6 factors: 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 and 18. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 and 18. After that, find the value of 10 raised to 3. Now 10 raised to 3 basically means 10 into 10 into 10. 10 into 10 is 100, and 100 into 10 is basically, it is 1,000. So this would be 1,000. Then it says cube root of 27. We all know that basically 3 cubed is 27. So the cube root of 3 would also be, the cube root of 27, it would be 3. And what is 7 raised to 0? So we know that any number, whenever it is raised to 0, it will always give us 1. Okay, so I hope the first 4 questions are clear. Please take a look at them if you're not sure about anything. Alright, now let's move on to the next question. The next question says, on the diagram, draw all the lines of symmetry. So for this diagram, it will have 2 lines of symmetry. One would be the horizontal line of symmetry, which would pass somewhere over here. The other one would be a vertical line of symmetry, which passes somewhere over here. There would be no basically diagonal lines, because if you see diagonal lines, for example, something that I was confused is that why are there no diagonal lines? So for example, this is a diagonal line, but then you see on the other side, for example, if you take this point, on this side you have this point, on one side you have this point over here, but the other point it does not have the same, so it's not symmetrical. The shape is not symmetrical diagonally, and this would apply to any diagonal like symmetry that you can think of. So that's why this shape will only have two lines of symmetry, and you're only required to draw two lines of symmetry. After that, it says shade one square so that the diagram has a rotational symmetry of order 2. Now, what does a rotational symmetry of order 2 mean? A rotational symmetry of order 2 means that when you rotate the shape 360 times, it looks 2 times exactly as it is. So all shapes, most of the shapes, they have a rotational symmetry of degree 1. That means that when you complete a 360-degree rotation, it will look the same. But here it says order 2. That means when you complete a 180-degree also, it will look the same. So when it complete the 180-degree, that means you this square, it goes like this. So 1 and then 2. It would come on the other side. So now we can see that the top pattern, it has to match the bottom pattern. So this is how it's going to work. So we have this part, which would almost resembling this part over here. And we have these two squares, which are resembling these two squares. But there is nothing for this square. So we simply shade this square. And that's how we get rotational symmetry of order 2. So now if you think about it, rotate this shape basically to 180 degrees. When you rotate this shape 180 degrees, for example, I might be able to show you that. Okay, let's try. I'll not be able to show you how to do the rotation because this software does not allow me to show that. But think about it. If you rotate the shape 180 degrees, it would look exactly the same as it is looking right now. So this part essentially, like all of this, it would rotate and come to this side. And this part, like the two bars, it would come to this side. So, and then the one square that I have shaded, it would come exactly over there. So that's why we choose this square. And this question is completely dependent on your practice. There's a lot of mathematical expressions or equations that are required over here. Okay, now we'll move on to the next question, which says write the reciprocal of 0.25. Now what does 0.25 mean? 0.25 basically means 1/4. And what's the reciprocal of 1/4? It is basically flip the fraction, which is 4/1, which is simply 4. Okay, now we'll move on to question number 7. The question number 7 tells us work out -6 into -3 plus 7 into 2. Now here you have to use BODMAS, which is basically you multiply and then you add. So we have to write it in this way first. -6 into -3 plus 7 into 2. Now what is -6 into -3? That is 18 because the signs are both negative, so the answer would be positive. And 7 into 2 is basically 14. So 18 plus 14, which you add up, it will be 32. 32. The next question, write these numbers in order starting with the smallest number. So if you think about it, what is 34%? 34% is 34 over 100, which is 0.34. On the other hand, you have pi, which is basically 3.14. 1 over 3 is basically 0.333. It will keep continuing. And 3 is just 3. And 3 over 10 is basically 0.3. Okay. So now you have to order the smallest. The smallest that I can think of, it can't be any of these three because, no, it can't be this, it can't be pi, neither it can be this. So obviously it will be 3 over 10 because 1 over 3 it is greater because it is 0.33 and 34% is also greater. So the starting number would be 3 over 10 because that's 0.3. Then you have 1 over 3, which would be 0.33, and then you have 34%, which is 0.34. Then you have the number 3, and then you have the number which is basically pi. So the correct answer is 3 over 10, 1 over 3 over 10, 1 over 3, 34%, 3 and pi. Okay. And how did we do it? We convert all of them to approximate like decimal point values, and then we see the answer. The next question says a film starts at 1935 and the film lasts for 70 minutes. Work out the time the film finishes. Now the first thing to understand from this question is that 70 minutes is basically 1 hour and 10 minutes, right? 1 hour and 10 minutes. Because 1 hour is 60 minutes, so 60 plus 10 is 70 minutes. So to 1935, basically for 1935, if I add an extra hour plus 1, it would be 2035. So that covers my 1 minute. And if I add an extra 10 minutes, that would be 2045. So first you deal with the hours values and then you deal with the minute values. So the answer would be 2045. Okay, now we'll move on to the next question. It says that a shape is drawn on a 1 centimeter square grid. Find the area of the shape. Now whenever a shape is given on a 1 centimeter square grid, we know that the area of the shape will be the sum, like how many squares have been used. So if you count the squares, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. So we have 18 whole squares, and then how many half squares do we have? Because all one square, this is square, this is square, this is square, this square. Okay, sorry, what is happening over here? So we have these four half squares. That means when you combine them, if there are four half squares, that means two full squares. So you have 20 squares, and because each square has an area of 1 centimeter square, the area is 20 centimeter square. Okay, I hope that is clear. How did we find out? We found out the total number of squares, and then we just, each square has an area of 1, so the total number of squares will be the total area, which is going to be 20. 10b, on the grid shade 50% of the shape. Now basically, because we know that we have 10 and it says 50%. 50% basically means you have to shade an area of 10. That means you have to shade 10 squares. So you can shade any 10 squares. For example, I would shade 1 2 3, these three. Use your pencil please. 4 5 6, so these, it will be a total of 6. 7 8 9, so these, and then one more. Okay, one more over here. And this is how you're going to shade 50% of the shape. The next question says 19.5 into 20.4 is basically 397.8. Okay, so work out 1.95 into 2.04. If you see in 1.95, we have divided this value 19.5 by 10. So 19.5 divided by 10, it would be 1.95. Okay, and if you see 20.4, we have also divided that 20.4, we have also divided by that by 10 to get actually 2.04. We have to understand that how we have converted these values into this value. So 19.5 divided by 10 is 1.95, and 20.4 divided by 10 is 2.04. So we can simply write it down as now 19.5 over 10 into 20.4 over 10. When we multiply this, we would get, we know that the numerators multiplied, it would give us 397.8, and the denominators multiplied, it will give us 100. When you divide by 100, it basically means that you move the decimal places 2 places to the left. So that is 3.978. Let me just get a bit clear with this working, because this question might be hard to understand for the course students. So this is how I've done it. Now I can basically, if you see 1.95, it is same as 19.5 divided by 10. So I can say 19.5 over 10, it is 1.95. On the other hand, 20.4 divided by 10, it is 2.04. So instead of saying 1.95, I can say 19.5 over 10. And instead of saying 2.04, I can say 20.4 over 10, because they're equivalent. So when I multiply the numerators, I know the answer is 397.8. When I multiply the denominators, the answer is 100. So this will give me 3.978, because I'm just dividing it by 100. The next question, 3978 divided by 204. 3978 divided by 204. Now when you see this 3978 divided by, so this is basically, we know that 19.5 is equivalent of 39. Okay, first let me do this part. 19.5 into 20.4 is a 397.8. So 19.5, it is equivalent of 397.8 divided by 20.4. I just took the 20.4 to the other side. Now here, if you see the values, they are 3978. So which is, if you think about it, 397.8 into 10. So they've multiplied this value into 10 and they've multiplied this value into 10, which can be cancelled out. It will be 1. So the answer would still be 19.5. The answer would still be 19.5. Okay, again, first you have to understand that how did I get 19.5 is 397.8 and 20.4. And then if you see 3978 over 204, if you divide both of the values by 10, you would still get 3978.10 or 20.4. Or if you see this fraction, which is 397.8 divided by 20.4, you can multiply it with 10 over 10 to get 3978 divided by 204. And because 10 over 10 can be cancelled, the answer would still remain as 19.5. I'm surprised I've given only 1 mark for this question in the core paper, that is. Now, Here we have something which is cat has a method for finding the difference between two squares, a square minus b square. Our method is a plus b and a minus b. She shows her method as 17. So for example, if you want to do 17 minus 13 square, you can do 17 plus 13 into 17 minus 13. So work out 29 minus 21 using cat's method. So to work out, if you use her method, 29 square minus 21 square would be 29 minus 21 into 29 plus 21. So when you do that, what is 29 minus 21? That is 8. And what is 29 plus 21? That is basically 50. So your answer would be 400. Okay, I hope that's clear. We just had to apply her method. Now in this part, all the lengths are given in centimeters. The diagram shows a prism. Work out the volume of a prism. Whenever they ask you to work out the volume of the prism, you have to work out the volume of the cross-sectional area, that is like this part, the gray part, and then multiply this area by the length. Now this is a part of the previous question. That means if you think about it carefully, you don't have to use a lot of workings and stuff. Imagine that this thing, entire thing, it was an entire square. Okay, this entire thing was a square. What will be the area of that square? It will be 17 squared. Let me just highlight it. So this entire thing I'm referring to, it is, let's say, 17 squared. Okay, 17 squared. Of that thing, I'm going to remove this 13 square part. So this part, if I'm removing this 13 square, I would only get the other part which I really need to find. Okay, I hope what I'm trying to say is clear. So what I'm saying is, let this be in yellow. Okay, so the entire thing, it is, let's say, 17 square, and of that I'm removing a small square which is, let's say, my 13 square. So I'm removing this square. The remaining area would be the area that I want. So this is basically 17 square minus 13 square. And as we know in the previous method, 17 square minus 13 square can be given as 17 minus 13 into 17 plus 13. We are multiplying both of them. 17 minus 13. What is 17 minus 13? 17 minus 13 is 4. And 17 plus 13 is basically 30. But in order to find the volume, we need to multiply by the length of this prism, which is 100. So 4 into 30 into 100. Now 4 into 30 is basically 120. Multiplied by 100, that means we need to add 2 more zeros, so it's 12,000. I hope that is clear. 12,000 centimeter cube, the unit is given over here. You just have to think about it. The entire shape would be 17 square. If you remove a small square, that square's area is 13 square. So the remaining area that we get is the area of the surface area multiplied by the length will give you the area of the prism. After that, it says convert 8 liters into centimeter cubed. 8 liters is nothing but 8,000 centimeters cubed, and this is like a fact that you have to remember. It is 8,000 centimeter cubed. After that, we have question number 14. Now question number 14 says the diagram shows a triangular prism where ABC is an isosceles triangle with AC. So this is a prism, and you have the cross-section area is basically an isosceles triangle where this AC length, AC, it is equivalent of BC. The perpendicular height is 4 centimeters, AB is 6 centimeters, and BD is also 6 centimeters. Complete the statement. How many faces does it have? So because we know there will be one on the base, there are two triangles, so that is 3, and there are two rectangles on the sides, so that gives it 5 faces. After that, they're asking us that how many edges does it have. If you count the edges, so we have 4 edges on the base, that will be 4. Then we have 5, and which is 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, and 9, 1 on the top. Okay. If you guys are not clear about that, let me show you. So there would be 4 edges on the bottom, which is, let's say, this would be the first one, this would be the second one, this would be the third one, and this would be the fourth one. Again, first one, second one, third one, fourth one. Think of a 3D image. After that, this will be the fifth one, this one, and this will be the sixth one. So for here, it will be the seventh one, and here it will be the eighth one. So the top one would be the ninth one. Therefore, it has 9 edges. Show that the length of BC is 5. Now they're basically asking us that we have to show that the length of this part, it is basically 5 centimeters. Think about it. What is the length from here to here? It is obviously the half of 6 centimeters, which is 3 centimeters. Okay, so we know that 6 divided by 2 is 3. Once we have gotten that length, which is this 3 centimeters, we can use Pythagoras theorem to show that this is basically BC is 5 centimeters. Let me show you how. One of the length is 4 square and the other length is 3 square. So when we do this, it's going to be 16 plus 9, which is the root of 25, which is going to be 5 centimeters. Okay, I hope that is clear, because the formula for the Pythagoras theorem is a square plus b square is c square, where a, b are the sides and c is the hypotenuse. So the sides are given to us as 6, 4 and 3. When we square them, we get 16 and 9. When we root it, it will get 25, so which is 5. I hope this question is clear as well. The next question says complete the net of the prism on the 1 centimeter grid. The base has been drawn for you. So we have this base, which is a 6 by 6 base drawn for us. If you say the sides will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now they're asking us to draw the prism on this grid. So first of all, I will draw the two triangles on the grid, and I know that one of the triangles will fall in this region, the other triangle will fall in this region, because these are short enough to fit them. Okay. Now what is the height of the triangle? The height of a triangle is 4 centimeters and it is 3 centimeters away from the base. So if I take this is my base starting point. If I go 3 points, it will be 1, 2, 3. And what's the height of the triangle? It is 4 centimeters. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be this point, and then I would simply use my ruler. I would simply use my ruler to connect both of these points. So this would go somewhere over here. All right, just give me a minute. Okay, so sorry. This would go somewhere over here, and this one, on the other hand, it would go somewhere over here. So this is one of the triangles. Obviously, we have a similar triangle on the other side, so we have to draw the same thing. A height of 4 centimeters, which is equidistant from both of the points. So this would be somewhere over here, and this one would be somewhere over here. Then the next part says, it is basically that you have two triangles. Like the two triangles, they have a base of 6, which will obviously be connected, and the height of the triangles we calculated is 5 centimeters. So we're gonna have the base is 6, the height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the height is again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're simply going to connect all of these points together. We're also going to connect all of these points together. So when we connect all of these points together, you get something like this, and you also get something like this. This is basically a 6 by 5. Now if you think about it, on the base I fold this, like the first thing is I fold this thing up, which will be like vertical. Think about it in 3D manner. So this will be folded up, this will be folded up, so this gives me two sides. After that, I'm going to take this square and fold it on one side. I'm going to like take the entire thing. So one, like basically this edge, right? If you see this edge, it would go somewhere over here, and this part, like this line, it would be the top one. You have to use a 3D imagination to actually understand this question properly, but once you get a clear diagram, it is pretty easy to draw the net. And you don't have to confuse about the area as well, because of 1 centimeter square grid. Now we'll move on to question number 15. The question number 15 tells us the diagram shows a triangle BCD and a straight line ABC. Write down the mathematical name for a triangle BCD. The mathematical name for a triangle which has all equal sides and all equal angles. All equal sides, basically if all the sides are equal, all the angles will also be equal. And that triangle is called as equilateral triangle. Next up, it says that work out the value of y. Give two geometrical reasons for your answer. So we know that this part in an equilateral triangle, this angle would be 60 degrees, this angle would be 60 degrees, this angle is 60 degrees. And why is that? Because there's a property of triangles which says that the angles in a triangle, they add up to 180. And we know that all the angles are equal, so that every of the angle would be 60, the sum is 180. And we also know that the angles on a straight line, they're always 180. So if you want to find y will be 180 minus 60, which is 120. A pretty easy question. So the value of y, it is 120. There are two reasons. The first reason was the angles in an equilateral triangle are equal. Angles in equilateral triangle, angles in the equilateral triangle are equal. The other reason is that angles on a straight line, they add up to 180. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Okay, angles in an equilateral triangle are equal, or we can say that each of the angle in an equilateral triangle is, this is an equilateral triangle in which the angles are all equal. And because the angle sum is 180, we have to divide by 3 to get 60, 60, 60. The y would be then 180 minus 60, which is 120. I hope this is clear, and this is obviously it is for 4 marks. I have to be very careful with this question as well. Now, we would get the next part would be question number 16. It says that Jill records the temperature and the number of people on the beach for 10 days. The results are shown in the scatter diagram. What type of correlation is shown in the scatter diagram? Now, in this scatter diagram, because there's a positive gradient or the values are going up, this is called as a positive correlation. Okay, because when the temperature increases, the number of people increases. That's a positive correlation. Then describe the relationship between the temperature and the number of people on the beach. We can say the higher the temperature is, the more the number of people on the beach. The higher the temperature, the higher the temperature, the more the number of people on the beach. The higher the temperature, the more the number of people, number of people on the beach. Because as we can see, when the temperature values are very high, it is over here, the values of the number of people on the beach are also very high. Whereas the temperature is low, the values are also low. Okay, it's a pretty easy question. Now we'll move on to the next question, which is question number 17. It says that find an equation for the line y in the form y is equivalent of mx plus c. Now here y and x are constant, so that means our final we have to only find two values here. We have to find the value of m and the value of c. Now what does c mean? The c basically means y-intercept, and this is where the y line touches the y-axis. So as we can see, this line L touches the y-axis at 3, so the c value would obviously be 3. Okay, c value is 3. Next up, we have to find the gradient. Now what is the gradient? The gradient is basically the change in y divided by the change in x. So how do you get the change in y? For example, if you see, let's take for this type of things, for example, if I was at this point and I went to this point, the gradient will be constant because it's a straight line. So my y values, they change by 2, and my x values, they change by, let's say, from here to here. The x value, it changed from 4, and the y value changed by 2, right? 3 to 5, the y value changed by 2, and the x value basically changed by 4. So the change in the y value was 2, the change in the x value was 4, so this would be half. So the equation is y is equivalent of half x plus 3. The equation is basically y is equivalent of half x plus 3. And you can find this change anywhere, just anywhere across this entire line. For example, I take this entire triangle, not this, okay, let's take this entire line. What is the change in the y values? The y values, it was here it is 7 and here it is 3. So 7 minus 3 divided by, here the x value is 8 and it's going to be 8 over 0. 7 over 3, 7 minus 3 is 4 over 8, which is going to be a half. So the gradient at any point, it will be the same on the straight line. The line L, it crosses the x-axis at P. Find the coordinates of P. So they're basically telling us that we have an equation y is equivalent of half x plus 3. It crosses somewhere on the x-axis. X-axis basically refers to this axis, okay? And on any point on the x-axis, the y value, it will always be 0. So we can say that 0 is equivalent of half x plus 3. So negative 3 is equivalent of half of x. So x will be negative 6. So therefore, the coordinates are negative 6, negative 6 and 0. Negative 6 and 0. Okay, because if you see any point, for example, this point, the x coordinate is 1 and the y is 0. Even if you take this point, let's say it will be 6, 0. So I put my y value 0 because I know that on the x-axis, the y value is 0. Then I just rearrange the equation to find the value of x and write it in the coordinate form with the y value being 0. Next up, complete the table for values for y is equivalent of 12 over x. Now what is 12 over negative 6? That's negative 2. What is 12 over negative 3? That is negative 4. What is 12 over negative 1? That is negative 12. Okay. On the other hand, I have this part which says What is 12 over 1? 12. 12 over 2 is 6. 12 over 3, it is basically 4. 12 over 4 is 3, which is given. And 12 over 6 is, again, 2. So the values are negative 2, 4, negative 2, 4, negative 2, negative 4, and negative 12. 12, 4, and 2. After that, it says you put this down on the graph. Like basically the values are given and you just have to put them down on the graph. So let's start with the positive values 1. For 1, it is 12. So this is going to be somewhere over here. 1, 12. After that, we have 2, 6. After that, we have 3, 4. And after that, we have 4 and 3, which would go somewhere exactly over here. And after that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have 5, but we have 6, which goes for 2. So if you connect these points in a curve, it would look somewhat like this. Okay. Obviously, the last point would be a bit more closer. On the other hand, if you have negative 1, it is negative 12. With negative 2, it was negative 6. With negative 3, it was negative 4. And with negative 4, it was negative 3. With negative 6, it was negative 2. So you simply put these down and you connect them together with a similar curve. All right. So obviously I'm drawing on my screen, so it is not as clear as I've drawn on paper. Then it says draw the line y is equivalent of negative 9. Y is equivalent of negative 9, it would be over here. And this line, it basically refers to the line where all the y values are negative 9. So we have 2 above and wait, 8, so 2, this is 8.2, 8.4, 8.5. Yeah, this would be the negative 9 value, exactly in the center between this. And this is a line where any coordinate, any point in this line, the y coordinate will always be negative 9. After that, what they're telling us is that you find 12 over x is equivalent of negative 9. You do not have to solve this. You basically see the point of intersection. At this point of intersection, the value of x is around negative 1.1. Negative 1.1. So the answer would be negative 1.1. Wherever they intersect, this is where both will be equal. Okay. Now, because y is equivalent of negative 9 and y is equivalent of 12 over x. So we can say that where the point they meet, it is 12 over x is equivalent of negative 9. Now we'll move on to question number 19. Question number 19 tells us that n is an odd number. Write down the values of n that satisfies 7. It is greater than 7, but less than or equal to 15. That means it cannot be 7, it has to be greater than 7. So we have 9, we have 11, we have 13. But because it says greater than or equal, less than or equal to 15, that means we also have to include 15 in this. Now pip, this is the second question, which thinks that pip says that negative 1 less than x less than 8 is an inequality represented by the number line. Complete the statement. Pip's inequality is not correct because, all right, now when you have these squares, whenever the circles they are filled, you have to use this symbol, which means greater than or equal to or lesser than or equal to. Pip hasn't used the symbols. It's not correct because he needs to use two of these signs, okay, two of these signs, because the inequalities they're using circles which are filled. They are not like white circles, they are dark circles, so obviously that you would need to use an equality sign. For example, if one of the circle was like this, so then it would mean that he would be correct. But because both of them are dark, that means you'll have to use both two of these signs. Now we'll move on to question number 20. Now in question number 20, we have the height h meters of a building. It is 635 meters cut to the nearest meter. Complete the statement about the value of h. So here they're asking what is the upper bound and lower bound. Now because it says nearest meter, that means it is either 634.5 or 635.5. 634.5 or it is less than 635.5. Okay, because it says nearest meter, that means the nearest like whole number. The difference is 1 here. So when you half the difference, which is 0.5, you can subtract it to get 634.5, or you can add it to get 635.5, which is the upper boundary and this is the lower boundary. And what this basically means that if the h value is 634.5 or greater than that, means it will be rounded to 635. Whereas if the h value it is less than 635.5, not equal to, if it is less than 635.5, then also it will be rounded to 635. So when you say that the height is 635, it could be in this entire range. Now we'll move on to question number 21. Question number 21 says, find out the value of x when the w is 5 and p is 6. So the x value can be said as 1 over 3 into 5 squared into 6. Now what is 5 squared? 5 squared is 25, and 25 into 6. 25 into 6, you can simply say it as 1 over 3 into 150. Now you need to figure out what is 1/3 of 150, which, if you just apply a bit of logic, divides 150 into 3 equal parts, which is each of them is going to be 50 each. Make p the subject of the formula. X is equivalent of 1 over 3 w squared p. Because 3 is being divided here, I need to bring it to multiplication. So 3x is equivalent of 1 into w squared, 1 into w squared into p. So p would be 3x divided by w squared. You do not need to write down the 1 because like dividing by 1 is same as dividing by w squared. So 3x over w squared. 3x divided by w squared. Next one. Work out 1 whole 7 over 15 minus 4 over 5, giving your answer as a fraction to the simplest form. Now 1 whole 7 over 15, it is basically 22 over 15. If you're wondering how I got that, so basically 15, you have to multiply this 15 with the 1. 15 with 1 will give you 15, and we have to add 7. It will give you 22. The denominator then remains the same. So now you have 22 over 15 minus 4 over 5. So obviously I need to have common denominators. Let me try to get 15 for the other denominator as well. The first one, let it be the same. The second one, 5 times, if you see 5 times 3 would be 15. So 4 times 3 would be 12. 22 minus 12 is 10. 10 over 15, which is simply 2 over 3. Okay, I hope this part is also clear. 2 over 3. Now let's move on to question number 23. Maya buys 2 batteries. The probability that a battery is faulty, it is 1 over 10. Now, first things first. If the probability that a battery is faulty is 1 over 10, the probability that it's not faulty is basically 9 over 10, because 9 plus 1 would be 10. So like in one branch, the probability should add up to 1. Okay. Now again, if you see the probability that a battery it is faulty, it is going to be 1 over 10 over here, and not faulty is 9 over 10. Again, here also the probability is faulty is 1 over 10, and it is not faulty, it is 9 over 10. Okay. Then what it says is that find the probability that the Mai buys 2 faulty batteries. So for 2 faulty batteries, you have to go through this path, right? And whenever they ask us to find the complete path, we just multiply. So that is 1 over 10, which is, it is faulty, again into 1 over 10. That would be 1 over 100. 1 over 100, right? 1 over 100 is the probability that she buys 2 faulty batteries. A shop sells 3,000 batteries in a month. Work out the expected number of faulty batteries the shop sells. We know that the probability that a battery is faulty is 1 over 10. So we can do 1 over 10 into 3,000, which is simply 3,000 divided by 10, because 3,000 into 1 is 3,000 divided by 10, which is 300. So the expected number of batteries that the shop sells which are faulty is going to be 300. I hope this is clear. Now let's move on to question number 24. A circle, it has a radius of 7 centimeters and a square has a side of x centimeters. The circumference of the circle is the same as the perimeter of the square. Find the value of x in terms of pi. Now what is the circumference of a circle? Circumference of a circle basically means that the entire, like the length of this thing, which is like the perimeter of the circle, you could say in one word. The perimeter is given by 2 pi r, which here would be 2 into pi times 7. It is equivalent to the perimeter of the square. The perimeter of the square is always 4 times 1 of the side length, because it has 4 equal sides, so 4x. So the value of x will be 7 into 2 is 14 pi on the other side, divided by 4. I'm bringing the 4 to the other side, which is 7 over 2 pi. Okay, 7 over 2 pi, or you can also say as 7 over 2 pi or 3.5 pi. Okay, both of them are the same. Next up, we have got question number 25, which says the triangle ABC is mathematically similar to triangle PQR. Show that QR is 14. So QR is 14. We are trying to find the length of QR. What is the corresponding side of QR? It is 7 centimeters. Okay, it is 7. On the other hand, one more length is given, which is 10 centimeters. And what is the corresponding over here? It is 5 centimeters. So I have to write the corresponding lengths in terms of each other. Then QR will be 10 into 7 divided by 5. What is 10 into 7? That is basically 70 divided by 5, which is going to be no. Okay. Yeah, 70 divided by 5, which is basically 14. I hope this is clear. It says QR 14. So basically you have to find the ratio of the corresponding sides. QR over BC is same as PR over AC, and then you simply multiply 7 into 10 over 7, which is 10 times 7, 70 divided by 5, which is 14. Now it is only one more question. Solve the simultaneous equations. Now whenever they ask you to solve the simultaneous equations, you have to make sure that at least one of the variables is same. So for example, I can make 4 and 6 same by multiplying both of them to make sure that they are 12. So I want 12t over here and I want 12t over here. What do I multiply with 4 to get 12t? It's multiplied by 3, right? So I multiply negative 3w with also 3. This would be negative 9w is equivalent of 11 into 3, which is 33. On the other hand, what do I need to multiply 6t to get 12t? 2. So 2w would also be need to multiply with 2. That will be 4w. And negative 3 would also need to be multiplied with 2, so which is negative 6. Now when I subtract this, 12t minus 12t is 0. Negative 9 minus 4, that is negative 13w, is equivalent of 33 minus 6, which is negative 13w is equivalent of 39. So w would be negative 3. I've got the value of w. Now in order to find the value, 6 times t, basically use any of the expressions, 6 times t plus 2 times the value of w, it is negative 3. If I apply it over here, 6 times t is equivalent to 6t plus 2 times negative 3, it is equivalent of negative 3. So 6t is equivalent of negative 3. Now 2 into negative 3 is negative 6. If I move it to the other side, it will be positive 6. So 6t is equivalent of 3. So t is basically 0.5. T is 0.5 and w is basically negative 3. And by doing this question, we have reached the end of this paper. I hope this video was really helpful for you guys, and I hope I was able to answer any doubts or questions that you have. If you have any further questions, please do post them in the comment below, and I will try to respond to them as soon as possible. Good luck for your preparations in the May June 25 exams or whatever exams you're next appearing for, and stay tuned for more upcoming videos, including the latest Feb March 2025 past papers for other subjects and also for AS level. Till then, good luck and take care. I'll see you all in the next video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.